So I see we're right at 7 o'clock. So I want to welcome everybody for joining us for the DJAM Jazz Legend Awards presentation that we had hoped to do back in April at the Moody Performance Hall at our free jazz open house. We had to cancel it, unfortunately, due to the COVID crisis. So we're glad that we're finally able to at least do it virtually and recognize these wonderful people who have produced so much great music, supported us, and educated people in our community. It is our great honor to be here tonight with all of you. So before we get started, for those of you that are new to us or do not know anything about DJAM, I wanted to give you a very brief explanation about what DJAM is. And it's the full name is Dallas Jazz Appreciation Month, founded in 2013 as part of the Smithsonian Institution's annual National Celebration of Jazz each April. And with the help of Vicki Meek, formerly manager of the South Dallas Cultural Center, we gathered representatives from as many jazz organizations as we could find here locally. These were jazz presenters, educational institutions, and other jazz organizations. And we kind of came together to gain more recognition of the wonderful jazz music that is produced here in this community. Despite the pervasive misconception that there's no jazz in Dallas, we all know that there is a lot of really great jazz being produced here. And personally, I would put our jazz musicians up against jazz musicians anywhere in the world. We have absolutely the best right here in Dallas. So DJAM is designed to educate the public about where to find this great music and to recognize the talented artists and musicians who perform and work and educate here in Dallas and North Texas. Our hope is to grow this every year into an initiative of exciting jazz events the whole month of April and beyond that showcases our talented jazz artists and also our venues and our educational institutions, and attract visitors and tourists to enjoy jazz in Dallas and Dallas and North Texas year round. So we decided to band together and find ways to focus on jazz each April with a variety of events, including the ones produced by all of the DJAM partner organizations, but also some extra free events to encourage and engage more public interest in jazz here in Dallas and North Texas. And these include the annual free jazz open house that includes usually our Jazz Legend Awards. That event usually is at the Moody Performance Hall. We also have done collaborations with the African American Museum with exhibits that are focusing on the jazz musicians or legendary jazz artists. And also the USA Film Festival to premiere a new jazz film every year. And we're going to have one coming in January, so stay tuned for that. And I wanted to recognize our DJAM partner organizations that have been with us all these years, helping us with this initiative. That it grows a little bit every year. So I want to thank the Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts Jazz Studies Department, Bishop Arts Theater Center, Dallas Jazz Piano Society, Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra Jazz Bands, Jazz Because, Latino Cultural Center, Salmon Center for the Arts, Salmon's Jazz, South Dallas Cultural Center, Jazz Stand, Division of Jazz Studies, University of North Texas College of Music, University of Texas Dallas School of Arts and Humanities, Uptown Jazz Dallas, and the Helping Jazz Initiative. So I just wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Arlington Jones, the Artistic Director of Salmon's Jazz, to introduce the Jazz Legend Awards.
Well, hello, everyone. We have 4 DJAM Jazz Legend Awards 2020 to recognize today. The first award, Jazz Innovator Award, given to a young jazz artist who has demonstrated excellence of craft, originality in his or her music, and innovation as a performer. The DJAM Jazz Innovator Award goes to Caleb McCampbell. And to introduce Caleb, we have the DJAM 2019 Jazz Innovator, Stockton Helbing. I'll turn it over to you, Stockton.
Thanks, Ollie. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Caleb to you all if you're not familiar with him. Caleb Sean McCampbell is an extraordinarily gifted pianist and musician from Dallas, Texas, who has been performing music since he was the age of 3. He is a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, and while he was attending Booker T, he was a recipient of the Downbeat Award for Outstanding Performance in the categories of Best Instrumental Soloist and Best Original Jazz Composition. Continuing his education, Caleb graduated from Cedar Valley College, earning an associate's degree in applied science for commercial music. He has gone on to perform with many celebrated artists, well-known artists, and he was also a member of a great band here in Dallas called the Funky Knuckles. Caleb has recorded his own original music as well as performed on recordings with many other prominent musicians. He is one of the young, talented trailblazers in jazz music with an incredibly bright future ahead. And on a personal note, I have had the pleasure of sharing the bandstand with Caleb several times over the past few years. And not only have I always greatly enjoyed his wonderful musicianship, I've really enjoyed his humble spirit and positive attitude. He's a joy to play with. And Caleb, I just want to tell you, congratulations.
Congratulations, Caleb McCampbell, DJAM Jazz Innovator. All right, our next award, Jazz Artist Award, given to a distinguished artist whose body of work, history in the community, and contributions to the evolution of jazz music in North Texas is exemplary and who embodies the concept of collaboration and support for other artists. The DJAM Jazz Artist Award goes to Johnny Case. And to introduce Johnny, we have the DJAM 2019 Jazz Artist, Rodney Booth. Turn it over to you, Rodney.
Thank you, Arlington. Johnny Case was born into a musical family in Fort Worth, Texas. During the 1950s, he was a child performer with his older brother, playing country music shows in Northeast Texas, primarily the Red River Jamboree beginning in 1955. He became enamored with rhythm and blues, which subsequently led him to explore modern jazz and cemented his dedication and love of jazz, leading to a long career as a jazz pianist. He probably holds the record for the longest permanent gig through his 28-year stint at Sardines Ristorante Italiano in Fort Worth. He has recorded many albums and freelanced in various jazz groups. Johnny has performed with many local jazz groups and also with many nationally known artists. He continues to perform at Lily's Bistro in Fort Worth. His other artistic interests include painting in oils and writing poetry. His many years of exceptional jazz artistry and contributions to the North Texas jazz community through his body of work make him a worthy recipient of the DJAM Jazz Legend Jazz Artist Award. Congratulations, Johnny.
Yes, congratulations, Johnny, the DJAM Jazz Artist. Johnny, did you have anything you wanted to say? If not, we can, no pressure, we can move on. Okay, I see you're on mute. Oh, I see he's holding up. I see it. He's holding up his award. Congratulations, Johnny Case. All right, our next award, Jazz Educator Award, given to a jazz musician and educator who has been instrumental in the development and molding of young jazz artists in the primary or secondary school environment and has the respect and support of his or her peers. The DJAM Jazz Educator Award goes to John Murphy. And to introduce John is the DJAM 2019 Jazz Educator, Jennifer Barnes.
Thank you,
Jennifer?
Arlington. Yes, it is a tremendous honor and a pleasure to get to present this award or introduce John Murphy. Most of you know a lot about John, but for those who need a little more, not only is John a saxophonist, but an ethnomusicologist. He joined the UNT Jazz Studies faculty back in 2001 and served as the chair of the Division of Jazz Studies from fall of 2008 through the fall of 2019. He published books and articles on jazz improvisation, Brazilian traditional and popular music, and many other topics. He's held both Fulbright and National Endowment for the Humanities Fellowships for research in Brazil. While he was a student at UNT, he earned 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Music in Jazz Studies Performance and Music Theory. He played in the 1 O'Clock Lab Band as a student and has freelanced in Dallas for many years playing jazz on tenor saxophone, as well as Irish traditional music on the button accordion. You may have seen such things either live or on social media. John has been beloved by all of his many, many students, musician colleagues, and educator peers alike for his dedication to the art form of jazz and his generosity and knowledge of jazz music. And I would add, on my personal note of having the privilege of working with him as a faculty member at UNT, that one of the things he was known for greatly during his time was his humility and his attitude about always having the student's best interest first at all times. I learned so much from the wisdom that he shared, both with us as colleagues as well as with the students. He was a tireless supporter and was always so appreciative of his faculty and lifting everyone else up to do their jobs the best they could, again, for the benefit of the students first. I also was inspired by the fact that he's constantly learning new things and sharing them with us, and that really was a tremendous role model of learning. And that was inside and outside of music. Those who know John at all know that he also has an incredible dry sense of humor and wit that pervades everything, and his students always appreciated that about him as well so much. And again, just in terms of integrity, he was always concerned to be fair at all times and to pursue excellence both as a musician and an educator. And those things are greatly missed at UNT, but it's so great to see him and to see him doing well and thriving. And like I said, it's a privilege and an honor to introduce John Murphy.
Well, congratulations, John Murphy, DJAM Jazz Educator 2020. Okay, next award, Jazz Supporter Award. Given to a person or artist who has promoted and supported jazz and jazz artists in North Texas through promotion, financial support, providing opportunities to perform, volunteering, or other means of elevating local jazz artists in our community. The DJAM Jazz Supporter Award goes to Chuck Mandernach. And to introduce Chuck is the DJAM 2019 Jazz Supporter, Jack Alday. Jack?
Thank you, Arlington. Let me preface this introduction with a quick personal remark about Chuck. Chuck is not only a great musician and musicologist, but in some ways, more importantly, he's just a very high quality human being. He is smart, he's sophisticated, he is kind, he's empathetic, he's resourceful, he's dependable, he has a wry sense of humor, and he is a true friend to many, many, many of us. I would say about him, he passes my foxhole test. Chuck Monternot is someone I would welcome in a foxhole with me. And in my mind, that's my highest accolade. So also, many of you don't realize this, but Chuck is the pride of Ida Bolt, Iowa. And I've met many people from Iowa, and I would say, well, I have a friend from Iowa, Chuck Monternot. They say, where's he from? I say, Ida Bolt. And you just get this vacant stare on their face. They've never heard of Ida Bolt. All right, Chuck Monternot, Charles Glenn Monternot, known to all his friends and colleagues as Chuck, is a composer, arranger, and first-class musician. He was a member of the Dallas Symphony and the Dallas Jazz Orchestra. As a first-call studio and freelance musician, he has worked with a remarkable number of Dallas musicians and ensembles. He served as the personnel manager of the Dallas Opera Orchestra and as a member of the American Federation of Musicians, American Society of Composers, and National Association of Jazz Educators, among other professional organizations. He is best known in the Dallas jazz community for his trombone and rhythm section jazz group, Them Bones. He is also dedicated to promoting and publicizing the work and performances of his fellow Dallas-Fort Worth jazz musicians through his semi-monthly newsletter that documents and highlights their performances and gigs throughout the Metroplex. Through his efforts, he has helped bring jazz lovers and jazz artists together to enjoy the great jazz music available in our community. Chuck, many of us love you and think you're highly deserving of this award. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Chuck Mandernach, the DJAM Jazz Supporter Award. Well, I want to make sure that I don't, oh, Chuck, is there something you wanted to say? You're on mute. It looked like you were speaking. We can't hear you. While he's getting, oh, there he goes. There he goes.
I got a message that the host unmuted me earlier. I had it on, but it's on now. So okay. Yeah, I certainly want to thank everybody at Salmons, Arlington, and Joanna, and everybody who does all the work that you do, and particularly, of course, for this award, which means a lot to me. I am. That's what I do now. I'm no longer play, write, all that stuff, and it's a great pleasure to be able to support the community. Friends of mine who are still performers, the venue operators, everyone, and the audience members who get some good out of my newsletter. It's a particular pleasure to get this award following Jack Alday and his introduction, because he's a guy that I could have won this award every year for 40 years, supporting jazz in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he does like to make mention of my hometown periodically. And it is maybe a little bit odd, but it's not pronounced that way. It's actually Odebolt. Maybe, like I said, it may be a little odd that anybody came from there and ended up here. But and as he mentioned, I've done a lot of things, been very rewarding, and whatever I can contribute to this ongoing jazz scene in Dallas, which has had a remarkable resurgence in recent years. I did a little Zoom thing yesterday, and I mentioned that, I don't know what it was, 10 years, 15 years ago, somebody from out of town asked me, was coming to town, asked me where he could hear some jazz on a weekend. I couldn't find anything, unfortunately. Yeah, I went through the Observer, I went through all the guys I knew, and now once things open up again, we'll be back to where we've been. It's a remarkably active jazz scene in Dallas now. I'm glad to be a part of it, even if it's peripherally and in support role. So thanks everyone for this award. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Well, I know that John Murphy, we're going to allow him to say something. I was just going to say that Caleb and Johnny, if you would like to say something, you're more than welcome to. But we'll go to John Murphy, our jazz educator. John?
Yeah, hi. I want to thank Jennifer for that introduction, and I want to call your attention to my background, which is the jazz faculty and some of my family members over at the house at my birthday last year, before COVID, obviously. But if I was able to do anything at all in that job that I held at North Texas, it was because of the faculty that I worked with, many of whom are watching tonight. Rod Booth and Rosanna and Jennifer and Brad and Rob and Alan, the faculty who I studied with at North Texas, like Dan, who's watching, the other retired faculty, the ones who aren't in that picture, but who are an important part of it, and the hardworking students. My management philosophy comes from the movie It's a Wonderful Life. So if you're familiar with that movie, I saw my role as keeping the building and loan running while the faculty go out and save all those troops on the troop ship like Harry Bailey. So the faculty are the Harry Baileys of the world, seeking fame and fortune. And I was very pleased to do my part to keep the building and loan running. So thank you all for this award and for being here tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. Okay. Wanted to make sure, Caleb or Johnny, that I didn't overlook anyone.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and chime in. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I'll just say, I see many faces that I recognize, some that I don't. But I thank you to everyone, all the supporters. I see a couple of faces. I mean, Arlington, I studied with him at Cedar Valley College. And I see Bart Morantz, I studied with him. It's just people who have impacted me, whether it was directly or indirectly. Other great musicians here in the city of Dallas. So this is so funny. So I played a gig with John Murphy several years ago. You probably wouldn't even remember. And I was Shelley Carroll, I think, was playing, and and it was just funny because just to see the connection and how broad it is in the city of Dallas. Shelley was like, yeah, man, this was my teacher. And I played at Amsterdam Bar many years with Shelley. He was like, hey, and it was the coolest thing for me to be able to play a gig with both Shelley and then his teacher, and then, Brad Leeley. There's just so much, in the city of Dallas, and it's so beautiful to be a part of it. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. I'm truly honored. And also, I think oftentimes for many musicians who travel, I've done a lot of traveling in recent years. And so I think it's special to be able to represent, what the Dallas-Fort Worth community brings and take it outside. And so, yeah, that's it for me. I just wanted to say thank you guys and for the support and for the opportunity. And it's a beautiful thing what's happening here. So thank you.
Thanks, Caleb.
I tapped it and it says done speaking. Hello, I would like to say something.
Oh, yes, by all means.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank Rodney Booth for that introduction. I'm definitely in good company. And I want to say what an honor I feel this is to have received this award, and to thank everyone who chose to include me. And Arlington, it was a total surprise to me when you contacted me in February. There's no way I could have seen that coming. So it's a wonderful thing to have the award. I'm very proud of it, and thanks to everyone involved.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Well, I just want to say congratulations to all of the DJAM 2020 award winners: Caleb McCampbell, Jazz Innovator; Johnny Case, Jazz Artist; John Murphy, Jazz Educator; and Chuck Mandernach, Jazz Supporter. And I really want to also thank our past winners, DJAM 2019 award winners as well. And thank you all for being on and doing the introductions. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate all of the things that you all do in the community and how you really enrich our jazz community and the arts in our area. So with that, I think I'll pass it back to Joanna.
Thank you, Arlington, and congratulations to all of our DJAM Jazz Legend Award winners, present and past. And I don't want to leave without just remembering that we've lost some really wonderful colleagues this year, and too numerous to mention, but several I want to just take a few minutes to remember: Jeffrey Eccles, Dave Zoller, and most recently Ron Snyder. And there are many others that unfortunately we have lost, and they were all very important to us as a jazz community. They will be remembered by all of us for their many, many contributions. It's always a terrible thing when we lose such great creative geniuses as we have most recently. But in spite of all that, in spite of all that we're going through right now, I just want to say thank you all for being with us. Thank you for being resilient. I know we will all gather again very soon and enjoy wonderful jazz music, enjoy the company of each other. And thank you, Arlington, very much for everything that you do for the Salmon Center as well as for the greater jazz community. And I just wish you all a wonderful, happy holiday season. Be safe, be well, and I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bravo.
You in?
Bravo.